our expertise is paid media. So paid marketing, like Facebook advertising, Google, SEO. So that's what we started with. That's what we're really great at and experts, I would say. Scale that company from $2 million to $20 million a year.
How do we know that you guys are going to deliver what we want?
There's tons of marketers out there. I would say one thing about like the marketing agency industry is like it's just a very easy, low barrier to entry business to become a marketer. There's a million marketers out there, and most of them are not good.
How do you stay sharp in your field? And even though you might have someone who will do it for cheaper,
To really niche down into that customer avatar and understand deeply where they're at and where they're trying to go. Hey everybody, I'm a DJ. This is my first public speaking engagement, so it should be fun. But I'd like to start with kind of a story to explain why I think marketing is important. When I first started, or when I was in college, I really wanted to start a business, and I tried a ton of different business ideas and got excited about just every single one of them. One of them being an e-commerce brand where I spent months building out the perfect logo, finding the perfect product, building a beautiful website, and doing tons of research and getting really, really excited about the business, only to launch the business and just hear crickets and get zero customers, no traffic to the website, no sales. And I realized later, after all of those failures, trying a ton of different businesses, the core root of those failures was just a lack of understanding of marketing. And that led me on a journey to try to learn marketing. And I started selling marketing services to different businesses. Eventually started a marketing agency. And that's led me to doing what I'm doing today, which is taking kind of modern digital marketing systems and applying it to an industry where it's not very common, which is private equity. And yeah, really, if you can figure out marketing and you can figure out how to drive traffic and get leads and bring people in who are interested in your product or service, you can really scale any business. So that's why I think marketing is important, and I'll let Kieran take it from there.
Yeah, on that note too, I started off like very early. I joined a company in the marketing department, grew to being a CMO, and scaled that company from $2 million to $20 million a year. And then did that again, and then did that again for 3 different companies. And the core function and change was just marketing. Going in and actually installing marketing systems to have predictable growth was the biggest shift. Once I did for those 3 companies, I started my own company and basically worked with over 100 B2B service companies. That's home service, software, like digital services as well. And marketing was the biggest thing that's just blown up all those businesses. So I think if you can get that right, you can have an average product, but really good marketing, and you're going to grow. So I think it's super important. I'm curious as well with the room, is everyone a startup company, or existing company, and know they need marketing? Is that kind of like the room here? I'm curious, raise your hands. Cool. Okay, so like I think how we want to run this is figure out where you're currently at with marketing your business and how we can provide direct value to each and every single one of you. And yeah, I think go from there.
I like to add one thing as well. We're definitely not recommending don't have a good product. I think the cool thing about having good marketing is you can actually have a better feedback loop into the product, because if you can drive customers into your business, you can actually get direct feedback. A lot of people, when they build products, they're building products based on theory because they don't have any customers. So the more customers you can drive, the quicker feedback you can build in your product. So marketing is a way to build a good product. And yeah, obviously having a great product is the most important.
And I think specifically what we'll focus on here is our expertise is paid media. So paid marketing, like Facebook advertising, Google, SEO. So that's what we started with. That's what we're really great at and experts, I would say. And I would say almost every business should have that, especially when they're launching. So direct questions about that. If you're thinking about running advertising or you're already running advertising and it's unprofitable, that's something that we could directly help with as well.
So this is going to be a lot of Q&A. So whatever you have, questions or whatever. One of the questions, just to get started off with, out of different businesses that you've helped, from small to large to all that, whether it's product and sales, whether it's labor, and all the different avenues of business, do you think that there's certain ones that is better to come up with different marketing plans? As far as if you're selling a product, selling a service, business oriented or whatever.
Definitely. I would say our skill sets are relatively similar. My main experience is building marketing systems for products that are sold over the phone. So mostly services, not necessarily like e-commerce, like physical products where you're going to be checking out on a website. I've done a little bit of that as well, but mostly phone sales. So that's kind of like my main skill set. I know you've sold some like SaaS type products that were more, direct to checkout, but I've built like marketing systems that are kind of an extension of the sales process and lead into, a sales organization. But you can
I would say, depending on what type of company you have, like what industry you're in, it's all going to depend. Like you're going to have, we call it a funnel, so a marketing funnel. The way you structure that funnel to convert like a stranger, someone who sees your ad or someone who just sees you, into a customer is going to be very different depending on the type of business you run. So if you're in a chiropractic clinic, I would recommend a certain type of funnel for that. Whereas if you're selling a service, like a marketing agency, I would say something different for that as well. So it all comes down to like how you structure a marketing funnel. Essentially, it's different for different industries.
So I have 10 million questions. I've done, I'll do one, I promise. But just to give you some background, I've done email drip campaigns for 8 years. I've done phone calls. I've done a lot of leads, but I never ventured into marketing too much. It's just felt like kind of a huge learning curve. So I guess my question is, do you think it is more valuable to learn marketing, a very niche, maybe Google Ads or social media marketing, or is it more valuable to hire on a marketing company to work on your behalf?
That's a great question. What can you give me a little context? Like what type of business would this be specifically for?
So for myself, I have a web design business. I do mostly referrals. But I find for me, it's like you run out of referrals and then you're on the hunt. And that's the anxiety part, right? So you want a nice lead generation so that when you are ready for more clients, you don't have to do hunting.
Okay, to answer the original question, I think it's definitely valuable to be able to hire the talent or outsource or find someone who's really good, but it's kind of also harder to do that if you don't have like foundational understanding, because then, you're not going to recognize good talent. So if you can have like a foundational understanding of like the different channels and the strategies and just like a high level understanding so that you can actually vet whether this person is good. Because I will say, there's lots of marketers out there and not all of them are great. So it's really easy to bring on the wrong talent and then actually, spend all sorts of money on marketing, and it can be a really big cost to your business if it's not effective. So that's the first thing to answer the first question. And then I guess one more like context question on your business is just like, what's your price point? Like what's the typical like average order value of, a project for you?
It's between 3,000 and 5,000.
3,000 and 5,000. Okay. Yeah. That's the reason I ask, is just because typically if you're going to go from like a referral based system or an outbound based system where you have, very low costs to acquire a customer, because it's basically, like you said, it's a referral, or, you're running cold email it's not expensive to run and you don't have advertising costs. Moving to paid marketing, it's all about the unit economics. So if you have a price point like yours, which is 3,000 to 5,000, you could definitely start, transitioning into paid marketing. If you had like a really low price point where you were charging a couple $100 for a site or something like that, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. And Kieran can maybe expand on that and just kind of like the strategies you're able to think about it.
What type of customers do you work with typically? Like what niche are you building websites for?
So right now I do a lot of coaching, online coaches, online schools, and branching out, but those are my main clients.
Gotcha. Okay. And so you're getting them from referrals right now and like email marketing essentially, or just cold email even?
Not cold email. So I'm connected to a lot of ministries and businesses who are connected to other people. So I kind of leverage their influence and see if I can get from their platforms.
Okay. And final question, what's the like objective right now? Are you trying to deal an amount of clients you're trying to get right now, or grow the business by? Like, what's the objective?
That would be nice to have those objectives, but really it's just to make more than I made last year. So I'd like to have, I guess my objective is to have like a 3-month waiting list where people are waiting in line to work with me.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I think the way to think about it is, so you kind of know your customer avatar and who you're going after and who actually converts. What's your sales process look like? Even if it's from a referral or if it's a lead that came from another person's traffic source, what is the sales process? Are you currently selling the projects? Like just kind of walking through that a little bit.
So typically I'm the one who gets referrals, and so I get their information, I contact them, set up a meeting where I sell them on the process and then work out a payment system. But now I'm branching out to having other people contact their people on my behalf, and I give them a commission if they sign up. So those two avenues.
Got it. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. And then have you tried any other ways to get clients that are, so you've done basically leveraging other people's audiences and using their email list to bring in leads, and then obviously referrals. Have you tried any other strategies?
Now, this is for one business, but you could activate all this in your business, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So just want to make sure this isn't all geared to one thing. I want to make sure everybody.
Thanks so much for the great questions. No, those have been my lead, and I've only been in my business for 1 year now. So it was just, hey, figuring, just see if I can, how many steps I can take to now let's create a strategy. So no other marketing strategy outside of that, except for learning SEO to be organic traffic to my site.
Kieran, I don't know if you want
Well,
to.
I think what I first of all ask is like, how are you different? Because I think like fundamentally, like the position, like one thing in marketing is how you position your offer, which is what people, you have your product, which is, website design, and then you have the positioning, which is how people perceive the product. So really that comes down to like the perceived value of it. What ROI do they think they're going to get from it? What the dream outcome of it is? What problem are you fundamentally solving for them? And like, does this reduce their time and reduce the effort that they have to put into doing if they were to do it themselves? So I would want to go deep and understand, okay, how are you positioning yourself? Because based on how you're positioning yourself, then I would say you could potentially do LinkedIn. I think is a great channel. And then cold email and go to these ministries or go to these coaches, etc., and actually reach out with that offer to them. As long as you can position it different to what's already out there in the market. I would say with your type of business, if you were to do paid media at $3,000 to $5,000 price point, you're going to have to add probably different offers to be profitable from ads, which can add a bit of complexity. Whereas if you just want to grow by a few clients a month and have and generate interest, I would say LinkedIn, cold email is great, but those channels are only going to work if you position yourself as unique and you have this you can't go to them and say, hey, I'll build your website, because they're already getting hits like hundreds of times that same type of author. So it's got to be solving a particular problem that is unique to them, right? And that's where I'm understanding the niche. I don't know what your thoughts on that are.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great answer. I think it's really coming up with your positioning and then figuring out, okay, where are the customers that you're looking for? Where do they hang out? Finding, where they already are, and then probably low cost ways of getting in front of them. Because if you want to just grow by a couple of clients a month, I wouldn't say that you need to go immediately into paid marketing. That'd probably be when you're like, hey, I want to, scale up and be doing 10, 20, 30 clients a month. And then also to Kieran's point, if you were to transition to paid media and your price point was a one-time project of 3,000 to 5,000, you would probably want to figure out how can you create a backend or recurring offer. So basically meaning you do a one-time website build, and then can you do a recurring, updates to that website for a couple hundred a month, or can you add some sort of recurring automations that are plugged into the site, some sort of additional offering, so that if you're spending money on advertising to acquire customers, and then, that's eating into your margin on the initial product, you have just a way to have higher LTV so that the campaign's actually profitable. I know that was a lot, but I think the way that I would think about it, to if you just want to go from where you're at to adding more customers, is figure out what's your unique positioning, what makes you different, why are your sites helpful to your customers? Does it typically, if it's B2B, you always want to think through the lens of ROI. How does your website drive more customers, more sales, and more profit for the businesses that you're selling to? And then figure out where do they congregate. So are they on LinkedIn? Are they what social media channels? And then I would probably start with just outreach. So in addition to what you're doing with the email campaigns through other people's newsletters, I would probably build out some sort of outreach system, just because it's lower cost and you'll have higher margins because you won't have such high customer acquisition costs. And then if you do want to transition into paid media, I would start thinking through what are either bigger builds that you can do on the back end or some recurring element to your business.
Yeah, and on that point too, where your customers congregate is a great point. So from what you told me, I could guess that probably there's a lot of Facebook groups in your niche, which you could get into and probably water some relationships and build more relationships. It's a little bit more manual, but you could just break into that circle and the demand's already there and you just put yourself right in the middle of it. So for example, we work with a lot of like private equity firms. So we know they're on LinkedIn. They're all on LinkedIn. So we just position ourselves on LinkedIn in that group and we get a flood of, people interested in working with us every day. So I just think about that as well.
So one of the things I'm hearing, sorry, I'm in the back here, guys. So one of the things I'm hearing and I'm taking away from this is they're saying, hey, what is your unique offer that separates you from everybody else that already does the same type of business that you do? And actually, I'm in the BNI group. It's a business networking group. Most of you know about that. But last month we had Leah, who's over there. Leah, you want to wave? She loves coming up in public speaking. So no, I won't make her grab the mic. But she's a CPA, and one of the things her and her business partner do is they go, hey, we love working with people with retirees, and so they don't go broad. I actually, because I have a nonprofit, I was like, hey, we need a CPA. She's like, I won't work with you. And I was like, oh, that's rude. And she said, she goes, no, nonprofit is such a different category. She goes, I'm very specific at what we do really, really well. And so she can do lots of other clients and work with lots of clients, but finding that niche, you go, oh, am I pigeonholing myself and I'm not going to get enough clients? Actually setting yourself up as I am the best to work with in this group of people really can set you apart. And I like how you guys are talking about that. What is your unique offer? What do you do really, really well? But we've got another question here. I'm going to let him jump in.
Hey, my name's Johnny Mora. I'm in talent management for live music and educational coaching. And I think that one of the biggest challenges I have is that I always lose to cheaper competitors, and I'm always having to kind of navigate kind of like price point. Like I could have a tremendous package and do great marketing and do great videos, and I'll have like a client base, but then usually they'll kind of fall off to someone cheaper. I don't know if it's because music is kind of like a very niche category where a lot of talented people offer different packages. But like, what would you say is the best way to stay competitive while, building still a faithful client base?
Yeah, it's a great question. So can you just expand a little more? So what specifically do you do for them? You create like content for them and
I'll be transparent. Like I book like live music regional basis. Like if, for an example, if a corporate partner wants to do like an event and charge 4,000 for a guy to come in and play guitar and sing, like I'll talent management and do the contract for me to go fly in to go do that gig. And I'll also do some
you're finding the guy who's going to come in and
me, like I'll do like the flying in and I'll go do the performance kind of thing. And then that'll range between like a corporate contract can range between like 1K all the way up to like 10K depending on the production. So that is one niche that I do. And the other niche is guitar coaching. So then I'll offer individual coaching because I'm a professional musician. I'll offer kind of like to build musicians from zero to hero kind of thing. So, but the biggest problem I face is usually just like I'm losing to people who would do it for cheaper.
Got it. And which category, like where are you coming up with that price resistance? Is it more in the coaching when you're trying to coach people to become better at guitar, or is it in the other side?
It's both. Because like, for example, like I partner with a local school, like School of Rock, and they'll charge like $299 for 4 lessons a month. And they have like a great facility, and I'll charge like $99 a session. And usually it's in person or online. So I'm like just being transparent, like kind of like where like the competition is when I do kind of like in my field. Like I guess what I'm looking is like, what do you think is like when you're facing so much competition with things that look really good, how do you stay sharp in your field? And even though you might have someone who will do it for cheaper, like how do you show like, hey, this is what I got and it's going to be better than that?
Definitely. I think if you're competing with someone who has kind of like a standardized offering, it sounds like they have, you said School of Rock, so it sounds like it's kind of like a bigger company and it's just guitar training and people can come in person and get trained. Is that correct? Okay. Yeah, I think when you're competing with something like that, it goes back into just the positioning and the unique mechanism of like what's their offering. It's probably very generic. You can come in, it's a great facility and you're just going to learn guitar, but you need to niche down into like, who exactly are you helping? Are you helping a version of your previous self who really wanted to become a professional musician? And what's the psychology of that person? Where are they at? And like, are they actually trying to become a pro and go to the next level and get extremely, extremely good? Or do they just want guitar lessons to learn a little bit about guitar? And you just have to really niche down into that customer avatar and understand deeply where they're at and where they're trying to go. And then figure out how you can position what you're doing as the bridge and the ultimate way that they can go from there to here. And, so you just might have to look for a different segment of the market than the type of person that's going to buy just the $299, go into the, guitar School of Rock and learn, kind of generic guitar lessons. You just want to figure out, okay, maybe you're going for someone who's way more serious about it and really, really wants to become elite, and they need more personalized attention, and they need you to show up and come to their house, and you just pour into them more. And so you just need to think through, like, who's your customer avatar, and then how can you position yourself against them? And anytime you're going up against a larger company, typically any larger company just has less personalized and just like less personalized support and less customized packages. Whereas if you yourself can really build it around the client, and each individual client can maybe get something that's different just based on their goals. And that's probably one way I would think about it, is just like, what segment of the market can you go after that's different than what they're going after? I don't know if you want to add to that.
We got a problem most likely right now is you are a commodity, meaning that you're being judged fully on price. So not on the value you can provide, it's completely on the price, which is a lose-lose game, because that's a race to the bottom. Basically what that means is no matter what, like, it's just who can have the cheapest price, which is going to win at the end of the day, which you want to avoid in business. That's not a fun game to be playing. You're never going to scale a business playing that game. So what I would be thinking about is kind of going back to like when we were talking, it's all about positioning. So what I would do is, I mean, we could go back and forth for hours now and think about how we could position your offer. What I would say is go and sit down, pull up ChatGPT, Gemini, and start asking questions about, okay, first of all, get clear on, like he said, who my avatar is. That's the most important thing. Once you know the person, then you can go deep into like, okay, why would they want to learn guitar? What is their pain points? What age are they? Like, are they at a season of life where they need to have guitar for a reason? Really getting deep on that point, first of all. And then from there, you can kind of dive into, okay, what can I position? Could I make this person a guarantee? Could I make this person an irresistible offer, essentially, up front, where, like, it's a no-brainer for them to go with it? And it could even be prices more. But like I said earlier, the perceived value of it is higher than just your regular guitar coaching, for example. So I would be sitting down and thinking, okay, what is a guarantee? What is it doesn't have to be a guarantee, which is an upfront offer, which is really irresistible, really attractive to my target client, where they will go with you over the value in which you can provide, because the perceived value of what you're doing is so much higher, as opposed to just the price. Does that make sense? Like, you're not competing. If you compete on price and you're like charging $99 and this person's doing $299, you're just always going to lose. Like, you're going to lose, and you're going to be forced to price down. And that's not a fun game to be playing. So it's really about how can you position yourself as unique and get out of the commodity trap of being compared based on price, because you want to be compared based on the value you can provide with your offer. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
Cool.
That sounds like be the experience that people want to pursue, kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's also just like making something that's a no-brainer offer too. If you can get if you just sit down and write down if I was to provide everything for this person, like if I was to wave a magic wand and take this person from knowing nothing about guitar and in 30 days, like they're the best guitar player in the world, and then you reverse engineer back from there, you could start to see what's possible. Like, what could I actually do here where I'm providing more value than my competitors? And then you just work back until you're like, okay, wait, I could do this, like, theoretically. They're not doing this. Okay, let's plug this into my offer. Let's position it. Let's get in front of them, make that offer, see how it does. And the likelihood is you can charge a lot more than what you are right now, and people will happily pay it because the perceived value of what you're doing is so much higher. So that's why positioning is so important.
And wait, can I ask just one more question? I brought up earlier, like, figuring out who your avatar is. So like, why do they actually come to you? Are they serious about it? Is it about, becoming a professional musician, or is it more like it's just a hobby? They want to learn how to, like, who's coming to you?
I filter those out. So I try now, I guess my first clientele base was always a person who was really on fire for what they wanted to do, and then they would just fall off. So that's another thing too, where it's like I would pour into them, and then naturally over time, it's kind of like music was something they could easily cut out of their lives based on whatever their dog died, and all right, I'm done playing guitar or something like that.
Okay, so you're saying the people who are less serious about it, you're filtering out now, and it's in the people that are more serious about it, are the people that kind of stick with you longer.
Right, yeah.
Okay, and then what's your main, like, lead source? Because another thing is how people are actually coming into your funnel and being introduced to you, like what lead generation mechanism you're using can really impact the way that you're able to price your services. Because if you're getting people in just on, if you're getting, for example, with another type of business, a lot of people run ads for like get a free quote or get this or get a discount or some discount offer, and just naturally you're bringing in people who are coming in for the price, and that's not the type of customers you want. So I would just ask, like, what's your main lead source? Where do you get these opportunities?
So I have like a bunch. I'll use like Apollo, I'll use Bark, I'll use social media. I'll do like just basic research online. I use AI tools, and whoever looks like they need kind of like a coach or they want like a performance service, I'll either do like a cold call or a cold email and follow up.
I would recommend, like, because I've worked with like info products and coaching companies before.
Yeah.
I would highly recommend posting content and trying to make your lead generation engine more inbound focused, because anytime you're reaching out to somebody about coaching or an information product or teaching them something versus them coming across you, stumbling across your content, videos of you just absolutely ripping it on the guitar, like they're it just positions you completely differently.
Yeah.
And they're watching your content, they're learning from you. Maybe you're doing breakdowns, even longer form YouTube videos on, hey, here's exactly how I learned how to do X, Y. I know nothing about guitar, but X, Y, and Z thing on the guitar, and actual videos of you playing and just like really positioning yourself. They're coming across that, and then they're probably going to be coming inbound to you once they see something like that, or you can set up some sort of a marketing funnel off the back of that organic traffic that you're building. And then those types of leads that are coming into you, they're actually buying into you. You're not even competing anymore with
Right.
School of Rock. That you're competing, you're in a category of one because it's a personal brand. So they see how you can play, and they're like, wow, I want to play like this guy. This guy's awesome. And they're not even considering the price. It'll put you in a completely different category. So I would recommend, if you're selling some sort of coaching or information products, you just got to go hard on content.
Hey, so don't be afraid to raise your hand, because tonight is set up kind of like the KBF Elite, where it's going to go directly in and everybody kind of takes a residue of everything that's going on and plug it into your own business, right?
Is that all right, guys? Like, I know we're asking
Yeah.
a lot of questions, but
No, that's good. One question that I want to, just a broadcast question, because there's people that have advertised or something like that. You mentioned at the beginning, you took it from 2 million to 20 million. So that's a 10X on like the business you're talking about. From a small business to a large business, what do you feel like you're talking about funnel systems, and you're talking, customer acquisition, the different things that you're doing to funnel these customers down to setting at a table to close a deal, correct?
Yeah.
What are the major things in a broadcast kind of way? Talk about the funnels a little bit. Talk about the it's keying a lot in on niches, because that's going to be the one thing, the bait that gets them to bite to fill it out. But talk about just the process of talk about the hopper that you use to kind of bring all this together, and how you can take an average business. Like, what is an average number from a small business to a large business? Is it a 10X in a 2-5 year, or versus what is an average? Is it a 20% growth model in a year? Is it something like that? Just throw out some of the numbers of actual growth if they plug in their business, whatever it is.
So you're saying, like, what was the growth rate of that company, say from 2 million to 20 million?
how did you actually take them from 2 to 20?
And that business and multiple others from small to big, like, what's your average? Is it a 10% growth ratio? Is it 15%? Not all 10X. That's it. That's your home run,
No, it varies. I mean, this company was like 3 years. It took them to get them 2 to 20. I would say the main, what we did was from 2 to, I'd say, 10, we mastered one marketing channel. So we were doing Meta for them. They also had a organic brand they were posting on Instagram, etc. And then we mastered one funnel, which was webinars. We got really good at webinars. We were filling out rooms, 5,000, 10,000 people, doing it weekly, and just mastered that one process. And I think for 99% of business owners, that's exactly what you need to do until you're at $5-10 million. Just master one predictable way of getting customers that's repeatable and consistent. And then after that, it was to really grow beyond that. It was really mastering the back end of the business. So we had a front-end offer, which was like a course essentially. And then that's what got us to $5-10 million. And then after that, like, we built a back end. So the easiest people to sell to in the world are existing customers. I think we all know that's, in fact, I think there's a stat is at 65% easier. So then it was like, okay, well, we've built this list. We built this customer database of, 50,000, 100,000 customers. How can we remarket to them? And then once we mastered remarketing to them, which was primarily just pushing coaching, we had a high-ticket coaching program, and we pushed that to them. That's what really, that doubled the company in a matter of months, actually, because we were remarketing to existing customers, it unlocks so much profit in the back end. And that's something to understand in marketing too, is on the front end, like, if you're doing paid media, or any sort of paid marketing, whatever you sell on the front end is simply a mechanism to liquidate your ad spend, liquidate the costs in which you used to acquire that customer. Where the real money in business is made and the profit is remarketing to that customer again and again in the back end through a customer list and through, just getting on calls with them, etc. That's where the real money and profit is made in business. And anyone who's mastered paid media in any business understands that too. It's the front end you use to liquidate your costs, acquire the customer, because that's the most valuable thing. Once you acquire the customer, then you can ascend them on upsells and cross sells and all these different types of products that you might have in your suite, and that's where you're really going to make a lot of profit. So I would say those two things, to answer your question, the mastering the first marketing channel and then kind of we started to diversify it a little bit, and it was easier to do that once we had mastered the first one, and then really mastering the back end, which means remarketing to existing customers. That was a huge unlock for us, and that was a huge unlock in every single business I've been involved in.
I would add to that as well. Just I think if I've learned one thing is like if you're in the beginning stages of your business, the best thing you can ever do is build from back to front. Like most people just think about their front end offer and like just what they offer. Like maybe in your case, it's just a one-time website build. So that's what you do. And most people build their entire business around that. But if you're in the early stages of your company and you can start thinking about the back end or a recurring element or some way to just increase LTV, because there's only a couple ways to make more money. You can either get more customers or you can have your existing customers pay you more money. And those are like two of the main ways to make more money. And if you can get your existing customers to just be worth more to you, like either through, a back end one-time upsell that's larger or, multiple upsells, a suite of products that are valuable to them or a recurring element to your business. If you can do that on day one, like for example, a company I used to work in, it's called the Flow Research Collective. And I was their head of customer acquisition, and their founder, he's a great guy, an entrepreneur I look up to a lot. He built the business in his 20s. He was like, I think 22, and then he scaled it to 8 figures over like 2 or 3 years at a really young age. And he built it with a really good front end product and had funneled thousands of customers into the business. And then years down the line, tried to build a back end offer and then go resell it to those customers. And he probably left, $50 million on the table because he didn't build, he built an 8-figure company with thousands of customers on a $10,000 to $15,000 one-time product, but he didn't build a recurring element or a back end offer that would have, tripled the profit of that business over those years. And so that's always stuck with me is like, if you're in an early stages of your company, if you can just think from back to front of like, okay, what am I getting customers in on? And then how can I extend their LTV and make them worth more to me? Because whoever can have higher LTV means you can spend more in marketing to acquire a customer, and whoever can spend the most in marketing to acquire a customer wins. So it's really important to think from back to front. I know there was another question, but I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. I just give me an idea that I wasn't even thinking about. So my question has to do with you guys, the marketers, the AI genius, the chat GPT genius, the web guy genius. I'm a loan officer, broker. I get 1,000 offers from guys like you that try to convince me that they're going to, take me to a 6-figure income. But they want to charge me now as if I was making the 6-figure income. So what value do we put on futuristic income and pay you guys what right now we don't have? I've talked to some people that, hey, look, if you join me, I'm gonna be making 6-figure income in a year. Help me get there. Let's grow together. Now, give me now the income as a marketer as if you're making $1 million now. And so, for instance, the other day I got an offer. Hey, $5,000 a month, I'll get you $30,000 a month income, which as a loan officer is little. And I said, okay, but you want my $5,000 now for how many months? Oh, for 4 months. That's actually $20,000. You want me to lay out $20,000 month one with hopes that I'm going to make $30,000 a month 3 months from now. How do we evaluate you guys? How do we know that you guys are going to deliver what we want and that we're not spending money, spinning the wheels? I'm 67 years old. I've been around the corner, around the block, and I've run into people who sell me something to improve my business. And then after I lay out the money, which I have no problem laying out money, but don't deliver. So, it's like I have a callous perspective on this, because now we have people, they use AI, they use ChatGPT. How do I evaluate your ability other than that what you just finished telling me? Like, for instance, I asked them, let me get a loan officer that you delivered. They never do. That they don't, no, and that's why I don't buy them. I say, if you're not willing to give me the name of a loan officer or broker who uses it, then I don't. Of course, that's my turnoff right there. But let's say, for instance, but even they say, hey, yeah, he's a loan officer, he's making $100,000, but now I say, wait a minute, but you're charging him $10,000 a month to make $100,000. That's a 10% acquisition. Is that reasonable to acquire $100,000? Should I be spending 10% of my budget to acquire $100,000? So twofold questions.
Yeah. For the first question, I think you're thinking about it right. Like, there's tons of marketers out there. I would say one thing about like the marketing agency industry is like, it's just a very easy, low barrier to entry business to become a marketer. So lots of there's a million marketers out there, and most of them are not good. So it's you're right to be skeptical. That said, what I run into a lot is a lot of business owners who have had a few bad experiences with the bad marketers, and then now they have a bad taste in their mouth, and then they are afraid to ever invest in marketing again, even though marketing is what will actually get them to the next level with the right person. So I think you're thinking about it the right way. I think that you should try to find someone who has proven to do exactly the results that you're looking for, and go and find that person and validate that they've done that through either, having another loan officer that they've worked with get on the phone with you and be like, no, this guy is legitimate. That's how I would probably think about it. And then to answer your question about like the percentage of like what you're making, the question is, if he gets you to a 6-figure a year income and you're paying 10% of that, but you weren't going to be making 6 figures without him, it's just, I would say it's like, a lot of people are like, oh, well, you're just doing the marketing. So I don't want to be paying you that much, but without the marketing, you wouldn't have grown to that level. So you can definitely find more cost-effective ways, but the only way to really make it more cost-effective is to have the skill set yourself to build an internal team. So if you can build an internal team, you can cut your costs and have a great internal marketing department, but most business owners don't have that skill set. So I would recommend working with like an external marketer, an agency, and actually the best marketers and the people who are going to take you to the next level, if you compensate them well, like the people that you pay the most money, ironically, are going to actually get you the results. So the people that are the cheapest and it feels easy to be like, what, I could fork up this amount of money to, invest in my marketing. Those are the people who are most likely not going to get you the results. The guy that you're afraid to invest in, that's probably charging significantly more than you're comfortable with, is probably the guy that's going to 10x your business or really take you to the next level. So that's how I would think about it, is 100% go and validate that this person is legitimate, because there's tons of crappy marketers out there. And then when it comes to what you're willing to give up, you have to ask yourself, could you get yourself to a 6-figure income without it? And if you couldn't, then I would say it's probably worth the investment.
Yeah, I would say there's like two ways of thinking about it. I think number one is understand and know marketing, which is the hard way, because if you understand it, you can evaluate what they're doing, and then it's so much easier to see, okay, what they're doing makes sense. This will be successful. If I was you, I would just ask them, hey, can you give me your referral from existing customer? Just give me an intro, allow me to have a 10-minute call with them. And if they are legit, they will do that 100%. Like I've had so many customers across my career or potential customers ask me for that. And I've just made an intro, They can provide value to each other too. If it's an existing customer, they can talk to you. Maybe you can provide value to them. Like, if they are truly what they say they are, they're going to have customers with results who will be more than happy to speak to potential customers of this, agency or marketing people to say, yes, work with these people. So I would just do it that way. That's the easiest way to go about it. And yeah, it's that simple, really.
All right, we got another question here with Josh.
Thanks for taking the time to be here tonight. I've owned a few companies. I've been very fortunate with my last two companies. Everything was inbound. I didn't have to spend any money to get customers. My customers were great at driving referrals back to me. And so, as you were saying earlier, when it's coming in, you're essentially in the place of power, right? Like, you don't have to worry about negotiating as much and things like that. Back in June, I bought a Window Genie franchise. So we do window cleaning, pressure washing, house washing, that kind of stuff. So home services. And there's obviously a lot of people that can provide the services. It's a fairly low barrier to entry as well. But I am, for the first time, exploring and dealing with, paid ads and stuff like that. I've been working with the agency and I've not been super happy with the performance. I feel like I keep hearing a lot of excuses, whereas I want to see results, not just, oh, this is what's going to happen. So one of the things I keep being told is, like, my customer acquisition cost has been really high. And I just keep being told I have to spend through it. Basically, you just have to keep throwing thousands of dollars at it until you get kind of over a hump. And I'm curious to hear your input on that. And then also just in general, what I can do if I were to take that on myself to lower my customer acquisition costs, knowing that getting in the door, I'm okay with even losing money initially because most of my customers are going to be repeat customers. If I do their windows, I'll probably go back to power washing. I'll probably go back to a house wash and so on.
Great question. So I'll ask a few other questions follow up to give myself more context, but what channel is he running the paid marketing on right now?
So they've been running pay-per-click and then Facebook ads. And then the blended cost of acquisition has been over $200. My average ticket is around $600.
And that's for the window cleaning service specifically, or is it a range? It's the marketing's for all the services.
It's combined for all the verticals are under one company. So yeah, so that'd be a combination of window washing, pressure washing, house washing, all of that.
Okay, and then what's the is it inbound phone calls, like they're coming through an ad and then they're actually calling into someone on your team, or is it leads and then you have a sales team that's reaching out to the leads?
Generally is pushing leads to a lead form, and then I'm reaching out and following up with them.
Okay. Well, first thing there is I would recommend most likely trying to move over to inbound phone calls, because naturally, if you looked at the conversion rate at each step of the funnel, when you have leads, when you're driving a lead form for, a needs-based service, which is, hey, my windows are dirty, I want my windows cleaned, or my driveway's dirty, I want it pressure washed. That's a needs-based service. So that's like something that, if someone has a problem right now, and if you can get them to take the highest intent consumer-based action on the internet, which is to pick up the phone and dial your business, your conversion rate's going to go through the roof, and that should drop your customer acquisition costs, because it's like, hey, I have this problem, I'm calling you right now and I want to get it solved. And there's going to be no drop off from lead. So there's going to be no drop off in pickup rate, or contact rate. So if you're getting a bunch of leads driven through and then your sales team's only talking to 20% of them, there's, a big lower conversion rate. You might have a higher cost per lead for the people actually calling into your business, but you'll have a higher conversion rate on those leads. So that's the first tweak I would make. And then I would just ask, what's the strategy in the actual marketing? Like, what's the offer in the video ads or the search-based ads? Like, what is it that he's actually offering? And I guess the final other question I would have for you is just like, do you have a high conversion rate on the leads that you're actually contacting with? Or is the cost per acquisition high because you're not getting enough leads, or is it because you're not actually converting the leads that he's driving?
So I am, I'm solid on the legitimate leads that I get. So I get plenty of leads that come through. But like I said, they fill out the form. I will call, I will text, I will email, follow up, and it's crickets. Yeah. So those are obviously not going to convert, right? When I get a lead and I'm actually able to get on the phone, or I'm able to text or able to email them, I've got a pretty good rate of closing those. So because my whole thing is to get to the house in person, do an estimate. I don't try to close anything over the phone. I want to meet them. I want to shake their hand. I want to get to know who they are and help them understand what service they really need. Because a lot of times they actually don't know what they need. They have an idea, but sometimes they're not right about that. And I want to help them to see that, so I can best serve them. And it's funny you say video ads, because they're running no video ads. And I was like, hey, originally I was saying that I wasn't getting enough leads. My lead flow overall is just not good enough. And I had to go back to them and say, hey, I'm not getting enough leads. They're like, I've seen people running video ads. I'm like, oh, well, yeah, we could kind of explore that. I'm like, I'm thinking, you guys should be seeing that I'm not getting enough leads for the amount of money I'm spending. You guys should be coming to me saying, hey, let's explore video. Let's explore this. Let's maybe shut down Facebook ads for a little while. Let's focus somewhere else. And instead, it's me driving those conversations. I'm like,
yeah, your marketing team's not good enough, because if you are unhappy with the results and they're not, like you said, coming to you, hey, this is proactively, this is what we're doing, we're changing this, we're adding video ads, we're doing then they're either a really bloated agency with tons of clients and you're outsourced to a lower level member of their team, or they're just not as good. I would say they could be, if they were more proactive, I would say you could work with them. But I would say if they're not super proactive and you're driving all of the changes and the tweaks and what you want to see, I would say you should probably find a different marketing company. And then I would say, the inbound phone calls would change the game entirely, because if you're, naturally, if you're not contacting 70% of the leads that are coming through your funnel, and then every single lead that comes through is actually inbound call to you, so you're talking to everybody, your conversion rate is going to go through the roof. It might be a slightly higher cost per lead, but you got to be okay with that, because your cost per acquisition will go down.
Okay. And so for that, you're saying for like Facebook ads, making the phone ring.
Google and Facebook.
And Google.
Yeah, I would definitely just inbound phone calls. It's the highest intent action a consumer can take on the internet, is to literally pick up their phone and call your business.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay. Hi. Thank you. There's a lot of questions on this row. I heard you say find out where your customer avatar hangs out. How do I find out? I know my customer avatar. How do I find out where they hang out?
Got you. Well, who are they? First of all?
We're home services, so we're home based. We build screen enclosures, patio, concrete pavers, all outdoor resort-like spaces in their home.
Yeah.
My customer avatar is somebody that's just bought maybe new construction in the area. They've done all their design choices. They've moved into the house, but outside, as soon as you walk out those sliding glass doors, there's a 3x3 piece of concrete, and that's it.
Got you.
So we come in and build something just as beautiful as the inside of the home.
Yeah.
But I don't know where they're hanging out or how much I should be paying for those ads.
Yeah. I mean, home service, I love ads. Like, I think like ads are amazing. So I would be running Facebook. I'd probably do Google, search intent. How much do you charge, for example? Like, what's your price point? Give or take.
Our average could be 8,000. Our higher end are 45,000.
It's amazing.
It just depends on what space I have to design with.
Yeah.
Some people have zero lot line.
Right.
And then some people are on a huge lake where I can go crazy.
Yeah.
So it just depends.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I would definitely run paid media, and I would basically in the messaging of the ads be calling out, people who have homes on the lake, for example. That's an amazing one, and run it locally in Orlando, specific regions. If you want to go to some of the richer neighborhoods, that can get you some people with bigger homes as well. And that's very similar to what we were saying to him. Like, I would run a very similar kind of campaign personally, have people calling in about it potentially. And I don't know if you want to add to that, but very similar to what you were saying to him overall.
But you said find out where they hang out. Like, so are these Google people? Because I feel like they're not Facebook people.
Google is kind of going to be the best home service. So I would do Google, but you can also do Facebook, because Facebook has such an incredible algorithm, which you'd be surprised. The type of homeowners that you would want to speak to, it will target those homeowners as long as you in the ads are pulling them out and being specific to them.
So my marketing team needs to do that.
Yeah.
Like I don't.
And one thing you'll learn is everybody's on Facebook.
Yeah.
So everyone, I get that all the time. We launched a marketing campaign going after big private equity funds, and people are like, oh, you would never get you guys off Facebook ads. Absolutely get them off Facebook ads. These dudes are scrolling.
They just don't admit they're on Facebook.
Everybody's on Facebook.
Everybody's
Old
on
people,
Facebook.
young people, like Meta. There's so many people on Meta. They have over 4 billion active users. They have more data on all the users than any other ad platform. Google for home services is incredible because it's search-based intent. If someone's searching specifically for your service, naturally they have higher intent in someone who's scrolling and you're interrupting. But I would recommend both channels for sure. And when you're thinking about ads, you're thinking about it the right way. It's like, okay, where are my customers and how can I place my ads directly in front of them? And then how can I, get in front of them with a compelling offer? And for home services, to speak to what you're doing specifically as well, like video ads are amazing because you can literally show the transformation of what you're doing, from a dirty window to a clean window, or a dirty driveway, or what you guys are building for people. So, to be able to get in front of your exact ideal client with an ad like that, it already kind of pre-sells them and shows them the transformation. So I would definitely recommend ads for it if you have a high ticket price point like that, because you can have significant customer acquisition costs and still be profitable.
Yeah, and on like what should your customer acquisition cost be is how I like to think about it is, say you took let's say charge 20,000 for a project, how profitable are you on that? So what are your profit margins? And then personally, I would do like 30% of whatever that profit margin is, and like, okay, I'm going to pay that to acquire a customer. So but also you can do the math and really like reverse. What are you willing to pay? What are you willing to pay to acquire a customer? I would really reverse engineer that. Yeah.
Say it again. You sounded like you got their attention over there.
No, but he's saying 30%
Profit margin.
He was saying 30% of your profit margin. So if you're consistently running at 40% profit margin, it's 30% of
that.
40%.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. But you have to think about it. Like, that's where I think a lot of people get stuck, is that, they don't have any consistent, predictable lead generation to drive customers into the business. And they're used to having ridiculous margin. They're getting customers from referrals. They're getting customers from all these different amazing acquisitions. Like, the best customers come from referrals. They're the most profitable. They typically refer others. They're amazing, but it's not you can't build a predictable revenue model off that. So if you can be okay with making slightly less profit per project, but 10xing the number of projects you're doing and just doing more volume, and then having a bigger customer list and then selling them other products and services on the back end and build predictability. Now you actually have a revenue model that scales. You can predict your revenue. You can bring on hires predictably. Like if you're just relying on referrals, how do you even know when to hire somebody into your business because you can't predict when your next project is coming? So if you can change your mindset to like, wow, 30% to wow, but I could do 50% more projects and just build a bigger customer base and a bigger brand and build a bigger team and actually grow. It's, everyone wants to make a lot of profit. Of course, that's the entire point of business. But if you actually want to grow and you want a predictable and consistent way of driving customers into your business, you naturally are going to have to pay. If you hire a good one, they'll do it all for you.
Yeah.
For sure. Completely done for you.
I also know it's so much easier with AI. You can do it in seconds.
The AI will create it. Yeah.
So we have time for one more question. We're actually out of time, but we're going to do one more. Josh is going to hand some papers out. Everybody in the room, please put your name on it. That's it. First name, last name, while the question's being asked. And then we're going to come by with a bucket, drop your name in there. We're going to have a drawing. So we're going to see who wins the drawing. Josh is passing those out right now. So on you, Mr. Kilpatrick.
Yes, sir. So I have a personal injury firm here in town. We focus on helping people who've been injured in auto accidents. So it's a service-based business. And I'm choosing from my list of 10 questions that I have here for you guys. But where do you see service-based businesses who are beginning to get into the paid marketing landscape waste the most money in the beginning?
Waste the most money.
So where, service-based businesses who are getting into paid marketing, my firm's a year and a half, 2 years old. We're getting to that stage where we're going to start doing, paid ad spends and things like that. What are kind of the pitfalls to look out for? Or where do you see people waste the most money in that kind of, from that standpoint?
Where do people make the most? I think it's all about, first of all, I'd say it's all about the messaging. Like for example, going back to the guitar example, it's like, oh yeah, do a free project. The type of customer you're going to attract is completely based on your messaging. So if your messaging is like all about like free, etc., you're going to get kind of like freebie customers. Whereas if you go upmarket and you speak to someone who maybe has a certain income or something like that, or credit score, whatever it may be, you're going to get those types of people. So I think that the mistake people will make is they'll go on ChatGPT and they'll write a really dumbed down script for their ads. And it's not specific with specific messaging to who is the type of customer that they want to work with. So what happens is your ads just get dumbed down and then you get really bad lead quality. That's what most people struggle with on ads, is just lead quality. And it all comes from the messaging, because it's not the platform. Because like we said earlier, the platform have all your dream customers on there. Like Meta, for example, Google, it's the messaging. The messaging is going to dictate where the ads are shown and the type of people you get in. So that's number one, I would say.
One thing I would say as well, like where you're at specifically, like personal injury, you're competing with some very sophisticated marketers. They have huge ad budgets. So it's still a great channel for sure, but you have to consider that you're probably going to want to build a really good marketing team or go to somebody who's really, really good, because, there's law firms out there with hundreds of millions of dollars in marketing budgets that are specifically going after your customers. And in Florida, yeah, and you can absolutely win. And I'm not saying you can't win, but basically the way to make your marketing extremely good is just go find the best marketers. Like just go find great people who've done it before, who have a track record, who you can go speak to other PI firms that are using them actively and they're driving customers profitably into their business. And that's the thing that I would recommend, because what will happen is if you have the mindset of like, okay, I'm going to try to find a marketer that feels cost effective for me or X, Y, and Z, versus just like, let me just go find the best marketing person I can possibly find and be willing to invest up front if I really want to grow my business. That's how you're going to win, is you need to go find someone who's profitably driving thousands of customers into PI firms, every single month, and they have the proof to show it, and then your marketing will take care of itself. It's really just about the person behind
that research as well. Like obviously you got Morgan & Morgan, so they're running ads everywhere. They're literally everywhere. It's insane. I see them every single day. So I would be figuring out like potentially segments of the market, for example, within Florida, that a Morgan & Morgan isn't necessarily hitting. There's always going to be a gap in the market which you can fill, which a Morgan & Morgan isn't doing right now. And if you can make a really compelling offer to that market, like we were talking about earlier with positioning, that's how you can kind of differentiate yourself. Whereas if you're just a regular personal injury law firm, again, they're putting you in the same category as Morgan & Morgan, and Morgan & Morgan are going to win because they're spending tens of millions of dollars in marketing, and people will just trust them because they see their ads every single day on the highway, on Facebook, everywhere you can think of. So that's also one thing I would repel.
All right.
I think we are at the end. Do you want to give a final closing thought, Pastor Jeff, before we go to the next thing?
I think one thing that he said early on was you can be at a fast pace of every time you try to cheapen the price of whatever you're doing, you're at a fast race to the bottom. I say there's a big difference between being productive and busy. Anybody can be productive, not ever. Anybody could be busy, not anybody can be productive. And I really feel like one of the things that I've heard come up a couple times is like, is it 10% of $100,000? That's a bargain. If they should be working for you, if you're having to fight somebody, it doesn't matter if they're above you or below you, they need to be working for you, or get rid of them and get somebody else. In whatever business you're in, you have a client that you make the most money off of, whether that's a 10 by 10 patio or whether that's whatever square foot house with a certain amount of windows. There's one client that your profit margins are 20% higher than the standard. There's one specific age group or something that you probably make the most money off of. So that's your niche. Your niche isn't what you do. It's also what you do. Plus you're most profitable, because if you want to grow in something, you want to multiply that versus you don't want to get busy. You want to get more productive.
Can you guys please give a round of applause to Kieran and DJ? Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.